You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Panthers. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and boy, do we have lots and lots of news to start off with on our Carolina Panthers show tonight. I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead, talk about the news, talk about some different things that need to be done with the Carolina Panthers. And then the second half of the show, we are going to break down the keys to the game this upcoming weekend between the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals. But, news today, if you have not heard, it's not a secret, but Sam Darnold is gone for the next 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured shoulder, a spatula in the shoulder. Minimum time is 4 weeks. They're giving him 4 to 6 weeks. But, and a lot of people say, well, now, everybody wanted Sam Darnold out of the picture. After those first 3 games, everybody started losing faith in Sam. Sam needs to go, this and that. Well, now you're going to have a little opportunity to see what happens when Sam Darnold is not in the position of quarterbacking this team. And, I talked about this on the last show, and we talked about it in detail, but a lot more of the issues that this team is having goes way beyond, and I say way beyond Sam Darnold. We've talked about this week in and week out, and I don't care, folks. When you're building a program and you're trying to build an offense, like right now they are trying to do in Carolina, they're trying to get that identity. But before you can get that identity and build a solid offense, you have to start from the inside out. It's like anything else. You start from the inside and you work your way out. Well, that's what you need to do with an offensive part of a team. You need to go ahead and start on the inside. The inside being you take care of the offensive line first. You build the offensive line, you extend out, you make sure you got some weapons in your wide receivers, which we do, and the tight end position. You make sure you got your solid running backs, which we do, and you need to make sure you have a solid quarterback. But too many times in the NFL, what teams do is they go after these quarterbacks that they think are either high profile out of college, like Joey Burrows with Cincinnati, who is doing a terrific job right now. Zach Wilson, who got injured with the New York Jets. And they take these guys and they put them on a team where there's no offensive line. And what happens? They get injured. They get beat up. They get the crap kicked out of them, basically. That's why you need to build the offensive line first. And when Matt Rule came over, don't take me wrong, folks. They've done a great job on the defensive side of the ball, building that solid mixture of veterans and young guys on a defense. But they did not establish that on the offensive line. And the thing that is killing this team right now is that offensive line. It's the offensive line. And you're going to find out it doesn't matter if you put P.J. Walker, Matt Barkley, who they just picked up off the Titans practice squad, and it doesn't matter if you put Tom Brady in here. Without an offensive line, you're not going to be able to have no consistent offense. Not at all. And that's what's wrong right now with the Carolina Panthers. They do not have a solid offensive line. So what happens when you don't have a solid offensive line? You can't run the ball effectively. You can't pass the ball effectively. And, the ball's being thrown too quickly because you're rushing to get it out. There's just so many things that go wrong when you don't have an offensive line. Now, earlier or throughout the last couple of weeks, you're hearing Scott Fitterer, Matt Rule, and the personnel of the Carolina Panthers saying, well, there are no offensive linemen available. There's no good offensive linemen that are available. Well, of course not. Who is going to let a good offensive lineman just sit there and be available? That doesn't make sense. That's stupidity. Okay? It's stupidity. If you want to get a good offensive lineman, you have to be willing to give something up to get an offensive lineman. You're not going to pull one off a practice squad. You may get lucky, but the chances of it are slim to none. You're not going to find them on the waiver wire because why would somebody be giving up a good offensive lineman? Doesn't make sense. So how do you go about getting it? I should not be teaching the Carolina Panthers on my show how to go about getting a quality, good offensive lineman. Yet, I need to do so. And how you do that, folks? You go out there and you give something up. It's not always draft picks. Sometimes draft picks work, but you still have to establish a future with your offense and do a mix of veterans and young people. So how do you do that? You're going to have to give up a good quality individual in order to get a good offensive lineman. Now, right now, I would not give up anybody on the defense. Your defense is pretty much set. But on the offense, you may have to give up. I'm sorry to say it, folks, but the $85 million contract of Robbie Anderson, if somebody wants it, you may have to decide what is the vulnerability of Christian McCaffrey and what is the future like in your mind. You may have to give up a quality offensive weapon to solidify the offense. You're not hurting the offense. People say, well, Larry, you give up a Christian McCaffrey, you give up a Robbie Anderson, you give up an Ian Thomas. That's hurting your offense. Guys, look around. Look around. The offense is already hurt. There's no offense to begin with. The only thing you can do is improve. You get one of those players away, you still got a DJ Moore. You still got a Tommy Tremble, over there. You still got a Terrence Marshall. You still got a Chuba Hubbard. You still got a Nakeem Abdullah. I mean, you have still other weapons, and now you solidified your offensive line. If you think you're going to go out there and just sit back and wait for an offensive lineman to drop in your lap, you're just kidding yourselves. You are just kidding yourself. You have to go out as a front office personnel and say, we have a deal for you. The worst they can say is no. But, you need a beast. I mean, and, I know I compare sometimes to another team, but if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the NFC South, who are in the same division, when Tom Brady came over, they did not have a great offensive line. What do? They made sure to sign Jim Jensen. I'm not Jim Jensen, excuse me, thinking of the old Miami Dolphins. Ryan Jensen to a huge contract, but they solidified that by getting Tristan Wirfs in the draft. They built that lineup and made sure. I will tell you right now, and no disrespect towards any quarterback in the NFL right now, but whether it's Kyle Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, you put them on the Carolina Panthers right now, and they will fail. Actually, I will tell you even go further. It would be the last year Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady was playing football because they would retire after this year. You have to grow, develop, and mature that offensive line. And that's the secret to running an offense. There isn't a good football team. The Chiefs didn't win by having a bad offensive line. They actually lost last year to the Patriots in the Super Bowl because their offensive line was so banged up. And you see what happens when you don't have an offensive line. A good team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl the year before with the same guys, lost to the Patriots because that offensive line was basically decapitated. I mean, it was depleted fully, and they got their butts kicked. No discredit towards the Buccaneers. They played a great game. But without it, my point here, folks, is without an offensive line and without you working, no, I'm hearing, let's get another quarterback in. Guys, wake up. Smell the coffee. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Right now, the key to winning on offense is getting an offensive line. That is the key right now. And the other thing is, real quickly before we go to break, when you evaluate a quarterback, and I'm not sitting here sticking up for Sam Darnold by any means. He has made some mistakes, but some of those mistakes, folks, without making excuses, it's a factual thing, is he's been under so much pressure. He's been running all over the place. He has no time to throw the football. Remember, the first 3 games of the season, Sam looked good. Why did he look good? We didn't play the greatest teams with the greatest defensive lines. So what happened? Our offensive line was able to hold their own. But after a couple of games of getting beat up, then playing some teams, we found out, guess what? The other teams have figured it out. All you have to do is rush the passer versus the Panthers, and you'll win the ball game because their offensive line is very weak. But until we get an offensive line, how do you really judge Sam Darnold? He had 3 great games, okay? Then he had 5 bad games, okay? I'm with you on it. I'm not here to stick up for him, but at the end of the day, you cannot judge any quarterback. Like I said, no matter who it is, if you don't give them the right tools to be successful. And here is a case, whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, or Sam Darnold, and we're going to find out PJ Walker, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not giving them a fair evaluation. Now, when we come back, we're going to go ahead and talk about PJ Walker stepping in this weekend versus the Carolina Panthers. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Frankly Speaking Panthers. I'm your host, Larry Frank. And, we talked about Sam Darnold, what he meant to the team. He's been injured. If you didn't hear earlier, we did sign Matt Barkley, who, is another high potential young quarterback in the NFL. Now, when you look at another young quarterback we're going to get to see this weekend, it's going to be P.J. Walker. It's safe to say it's P.J. Walker time in Carolina, although he'll be playing in Arizona this week. But when you look at P.J. Walker, a couple things, folks. He's played one game, relieved Sam, went 3 of 15, I think only 33 yards. Last year, he threw 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. But don't be surprised. This is a guy, P.J. Walker, that has been known to throw a lot of interceptions. And I'm not knocking P.J. Walker, but it's a known fact. When he was at Temple back in 2014, he threw 13 touchdown passes, 15 interceptions. 2016 at Temple, 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. So in 2 years, there are 28 interceptions. Now, I understand, folks, in the XFL with Houston, he had an incredible year, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But at the end of the day, folks, here is a guy who is prone to turn over the ball a little bit. Now, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to rattle any feathers. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. P.J. Walker is going to be pressured. You're playing one of the best teams this weekend in the NFL in the 8-1 Arizona Cardinals, who are tremendous, one of the most well-balanced teams in the NFL. And if your offensive line doesn't show up in this game, he's going to get his butt whooped. Now, PJ does have the ability to run the ball, but they're going to have to do different things in order to make this offense conducive so that PJ can be comfortable in this game plan. Once again, you can ask questions, folks. I'm getting messages. Why don't we get another quarterback? Why don't we get another quarterback? I already talked about that in the first segment of the show. Doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter if P.J. Walker is playing this upcoming game or if Tom Brady is. At the end of the day, P.J. Walker is going to have to put points on the board. The good thing now for the Carolina Panthers is they have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. The problem is they can't get off the field because their offense is not sustaining any drives and has one of the worst third down efficiencies in all the NFL. I believe the Panthers are 26th at a 35% clip on third down conversions. Your offense is on the field a lot. The Panthers are second in the league in defense right now. They have 49 tackles for loss, which is third in the NFL. They got 23 sacks to defense, which is tied for sixth. And they have 8 different players. I'll say that again, folks. 8 different players that this defense has right now that has deflected a pass so far this year on defense. That is the second most in the NFL. Defense is the least of our worry. Yes, they gave up a lot of rushing yards. This is a tired defense. It's tired. It's on the field all the time. We were winning the time of possession battle in the first 3 games, and you saw how well the defense did. Now you're losing the time of possession battle in the last 5 games, and you see how much the defense has been affected. Now, in all fairness, the defense is back. The defense is back. Yes, they got rushed on hard by New England. Okay, that's going to happen. Now, you're playing another great team, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, the Cardinals, who also have an explosive an explosive running game, but they also have an explosive passing game. So, and they have a quarterback who we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. We're not sure whether Murray is going to start or not start in this game, with his ankle injury. But then again, their backup, Colt McCoy, did a pretty good job last week filling in for them. But as far as our defense goes, folks, there's nothing to worry about. There is nothing on this team to worry about. A lot of things, for those of you that are listening on different platforms, if you want to leave a comment under the comment section right here on the show, go ahead and do so. We'll get your comment, concern, or thought on the air live. We'll go ahead and put it up there, and we'll also try to answer your question to the best of our ability. Also, all of you want to welcome all of the folks out there listening on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Incredible Guys. When you're talking about all different sports, and you're talking about especially high school sports, incredible, and I'll give it a third incredible. It's an incredible station to listen to. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Want to also welcome everyone on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube to the show tonight. For all you folks on different platforms, if you can please go ahead, share this to your timeline. Go ahead, share it to your timeline so other Panther fans have the same opportunity to watch this show as you do. And for those of you, I see we just had a number of people join. Once again, leave a message under the comment section. Tell us what you think of the Panthers. Tell us what you think about the quarterback situation. Tell us what you think we should do. Tell me what you thought of the first segment, if we were right on point. I know a lot of you love the insight and the knowledge we give you when we talk about what needs to be done. Love to hear the feedback. So please go ahead and do that as well. As far as Christian McCaffrey goes, I got a message just now on the text line. Christian McCaffrey is a go. I mean, as far as I know, he will be playing again this weekend. I don't see why he wouldn't. But so you'll have all three. Royce Freeman was let go. So he is no longer a part of the team. So that means it's Chuba Hubbard, Amir Abdullah, and Christian McCaffrey will be your running back team over there. So lots and lots of good things there for our Carolina Panthers. Defense is completely back, except, of course, for J.C. Horn. So our defense is intact. But we need to score points this weekend, folks. And we're going to hit on that in a couple of minutes. But, we're going to definitely need to score points. But this is, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, what they bring to the table, and what we have to, or who should I say, we have to stop in order to go ahead and beat this high-powered, well-balanced team of Cliff Clinsbury. We'll be back right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook, and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome back to to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank. Reminder to you all that are online, if you want to go ahead and leave a comment, a thought, a concern about the Carolina Panthers, go ahead, do so in the comment section. For those of you that have the ability to do that, that are on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube Live. Also want to welcome our good friends from Tobacco Road Sports Radio onto the show tonight, as always. And, we're going over the game coming up this Saturday. When you look at the Cardinals, I mean, this is a team that Cliff Kingsbury has got playing on all cylinders right now. Now, I do want to be honest, coming up this weekend, Kyle Murray may still be out. They have not made the final decision. He has had an ankle injury. Here's a guy that has 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. But his backup, Colt McCoy, came in and did a pretty good darn job last week as he went 22 of 26 for 249 yards and 1 touchdown. So it's not like, obviously Kyle Murray is a much better quarterback than Colt McCoy. But at the end of the day, Colt McCoy has shown that he is a solid backup who can deliver when needed. Now, you look at the offense and talk about these quarterbacks. Look at this receiving tandem. You got Christian Kirk, who has 40 receptions, 546 yards, 4 touchdowns. You got DeAndre Hopkins, 35 receptions, 486 yards, 7 touchdowns. Wait, it doesn't stop there. You have A.J. Green, 29 receptions, 456 yards, 3 touchdowns. My goodness gracious, this is a high-powered offense. Between all 3 of those receivers, 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns receiving the football. Now you look at their running game. They are strong as heck. And you look at Chase Edmonds, who is averaging 5.7 yards per carry, has 430 yards. He is a dual threat. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He runs the ball solid, as I just said, averaging 5.7 yards a carry. The good news, he's going to be out this Sunday, rumor has it, and will not be playing. So that is some bad news for the Cardinals, some good news for the Carolina Panthers. But wait a minute. That's only one guy. That's the difference. The Cardinals know about the word depth, which is so important. So what do? They have James Conner, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, who has right now he has 454 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns on the season. That's right. And they also have Eno Benjamin, who along with Conner combined for 3 rushing touchdowns last week. So don't think because Edmonds is out that this team is going to struggle at running back. James Conner is getting back to form that they had when they got rid of Le'Veon Bell because Pittsburgh thought James Conner was going to be that good. Well, James Conner is that good. He just needed to go to a team that could protect him and, open up some holes, had a good offensive line, and he's doing an unbelievable job there. Now, when you look at some of the statistics and you break this game down, the Arizona Cardinals are averaging 30.8 points a game, where the Panthers are only averaging 20.3. So that's a difference of 10.5 points. The Cardinals are averaging more than the Panthers, 30 to 20, basically, if you want to look at that. The Cardinals average 398 yards per game. The Panthers, 293 yards. That means on an average, the Arizona Cardinals average 105.3 yards more per game. Panthers have 15 turnovers this year. The Cardinals have 17 takeaways this year. The Cardinals have 9 giveaways. The Panthers have 10 takeaways. But when you look at this team all the way around, this is a team that score points, and they score them in bunches, especially when Kyle Murray is back there behind the helm. And I'll tell you what, there's a reason why this team is 8-1. They quietly, and I say quietly, they're 8-1. You hear about the Rams or you hear about the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals just quietly rise up at the top in the NFC West. And I'll tell you what, I honestly believe that when I look at this division right now, and I look at and I'm talking about the NFC, folks, but, a lot of people are saying the Rams and the Buccaneers might repeat. I think the toughest team right now in the NFC, and people may argue with me, but on this show, we always say we agree to disagree. I think the Cardinals should be the favorite right now to win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. I mean, there is no team right now that plays as well as this team. We talked about the Rams' offense. Yes, they got a great offense. Yes, they got a decent defense. They're still beatable. They are still beatable. You don't see many issues. If you're going to beat the Arizona Cardinals, you have to score a bunch of points. As we said, they're averaging over 30 points a game. That just means, in simple terms, folks, that if you don't score over 30 points, and so basically if the Carolina Panthers go into Arizona on Sunday and do not score at least 30 points, they have no chance of winning. Right now, based on what I've seen with this offense the last 5 weeks, I don't know if they can score a third of that many points in a game, and that's not to be disrespectful to the Panthers. It's a known fact. Right now, our offense is terrible. It has no rhythm, no consistency, no swag to it. And the problem with that, folks, as we mentioned, is you have way too many weapons. The DJ Moores, the Terrence Marshalls, the Ian Thomas, the Tommy Tremble, the Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard. When you look at those weapons that you have, there is no reason why you should not be scoring a bunch of points, except for one reason. And we already discussed that. I don't want to keep mentioning the offensive line. But this is a team that the Panthers that should be able to score. And because I'll tell you one thing, their defense will get them the ball back. You can rely on the defense. You have a defense where a quarterback, if he was given an offensive line, could actually make a mistake or two and have enough confidence in that defense to hold the other team. But my goodness gracious, when your defense is on the game for 35, 36, 37 minutes a game, it's almost impossible. You're asking too much from this defense that is already giving you so much. How much more can Shaq Thomas do? How much more can Burns do? How much more can Burris do? How much more can Matos do? And there's several other guys. Jeremy Chin. I mean, I know I'm forgetting some. But this team, Jermaine Carter, who goes under the radar and plays a solid game every single week, we have the defense to win. We have the defense to win. We need the offense to win. But this is going to be a game Sunday where lots and lots and lots of points are going to need to be scored. It's a 4:00 game, folks. So for those of you that were planning on 1:00, it is a 4:00 game. So want to make sure everybody was aware of this. But this is going to need a great game plan. This is where Phil Snow, is going to put a great defensive scheme. What is Joe Brady going to do? And, folks, I want to talk to you about this because I had the honor of, I talked to Greg Orman of The Athletic today. just an unbelievable ride out of Tampa Bay. Just tremendous. And I also talked to my buddy from Charlotte here. Everybody knows Joe Person, who does an unbelievable job as well. And I texted them both. I wanted to see, these guys are so knowledgeable. I asked them, and I already knew the answer, but I just wanted clarity. I said to Joe and Greg, does a coordinator have to sit upstairs, or do they have the choice? In other words, is it mandated by the NFL that you only have so many coaches on the sideline, or do they require you to have some up in the box? They both said it's up to the team. It's the team choice. And I'm going to tell you something, and this is just my opinion, folks. But you know what? If I was a coach of an NFL team, which I am not, okay, I would never, ever, ever allow one of my coaches, unless it was for a health reason or an injury to that particular coach, I would never let them sit up in the box. They would be on the field. How the hell do you coach from a stupid box up in the air when your players are down on the field sweating their shenanigans off? How do you do it? How do you see? Okay, all you see is things upstairs, and you go looking at statistics, and you're listening to these stupid freaking analytics that you all think changes every sport out there, which at the end of the day is part of it, but it's not the main part of it. It's what is the emotion of the players? What is the attitude of the players? What is the demeanor of the players? You saw Robbie Anderson get frustrated the other day. You might not have seen that upstairs, okay? But there are things that you need to see. When you need to coach, how do you correct somebody that is having a rough game or doing something wrong when your butt is sitting up in a press box? You don't. You have to be on the field and coaching as you go. You have to coach the moment. You have to coach everything that is going on. You can't wait up in the box till next week when you watch film to correct stuff. You have to be active on the field, coaching, talking, motivating, and encouraging these players. And if you're the damn offensive coordinator, I want to know why your freaking butt is up in the box. Get down there with the players. You got to get down there with the players. You got to be involved. They need their leader. Or are we lacking leaders? I don't know. Okay? But Joe Brady needs to have his butt down there where he can go up to Sam Darnold and show him something. Say, Sam, you did this. Sam, you did this. You did this. Or, Robbie, you know why you dropped that ball? Because you were 2 seconds off, because that cut you made wasn't exactly the route done the way the route was designed to be done. You cannot coach them upstairs. You have to be on the field explaining and coaching these kids. Where is Phil Snow? Is he on the field? Tell you what, that's one hell of a defense that Carolina Panther team has, isn't it? You have to be, and that's my opinion, folks. I love to get some comments in the comment section, as I see several of you on right now, on what is your opinion of that? Can a coach be effective sitting his butt in a box while his players are on the field performing their, and trying to execute that game plan? You cannot keep explaining the game plan and doing in-game adjustments when you are up in the box. People think you go to halftime and you make adjustments. That's the only time you have to make adjustments. That's bullcrap. You can continue to make adjustments throughout the game, and that's why, in my opinion, folks, I believe, and it discourages me, it frustrates me, actually pisses me off to a degree, that our coaches sit in a press box. And people will say, well, Larry, other coaches do that. We're not other coaches. We're not another team. We're the Carolina Panthers. And our job is to win football games. You're not winning the football games with his butt up in the box. Needs to come down, needs to be there with the players. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break here shortly. One last break before we do our last segment. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the keys to this football game. You know, I know a lot of you are saying, there ain't no way, Larry. You know, listen to this, guys. You know, we'll talk about it, but there is a way. Stay positive. I know I've been knocking the offensive line. Stay positive. And I'm going to tell you why when we come back from our last break of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. Once again, I want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, and of course, my home, Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. It's a pleasure having you here this evening. And, you know, before we went to break, we talked about, you know, this team. I think there's something that people forget. Right now, did you know that the Panthers are a half game out of the playoff picture? Just a half game. And you know who's ahead of them? The Atlanta Falcons, who are going to lose eventually. Trust me, they're going to lose eventually. So is there time to turn the season around? Well, there's enough games to turn the season around. But there's some tough games coming up. And if you can't conquer the easy games, imagine how difficult it's going to be to conquer the tough games. And one of those tough games is this weekend. I mean, we know where we struggle. It's not a secret to anybody. We've been talking about it, you know, pretty much the entire show about our offensive line. But we are going to go over what my keys to winning are this weekend versus the Arizona Cardinals. And let me see if I can list them up. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and all right. You know, but we're going to list the keys of the game. I'm going to give you maybe some statistics here or there, but we'll go ahead and we'll get started with that. Once again, folks, we got about 15 minutes left in our show. 15 minutes. That's it. I know it goes by quick, and has nothing to do with daylight saving times. I promise you. But at the end of the day, folks, you know, we're going to hit on these things. I love you to leave some comments. Love to get your opinion. Hey, if you think I'm wrong, I'm okay with that. We agreed to disagree on this show. But at the end of the day, if you also agree, just post a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me, maybe you don't think the offensive line, I don't know how you can think the offensive line ain't the problem, but if you do, mention it under the comment section. We love getting comments. We love getting interaction with the different fans and listeners out there. So please, please, we encourage you to leave comments or opinions or questions. And once again, we'll get to them as soon as we can. But the first key to the game is our defense is going to have to show up like they've been showing up all year. We're going to have to put pressure on whoever the quarterback is. Okay, if it's Colt McCoy, you got to pressure him. And if it's Kyle Murray, you got to pressure him. But I don't want people to think, oh, well, Kyle Murray is going to be hurt, so it's going to be a lot better chance here or there. I'm going to tell you, Colt McCoy is a darn good quarterback. We told you about his last week performance, 22 of 26. Guys, that's only 4 passes that he missed. The entire game, threw the ball close to 30 times, 2.5 bucks of yardage. Just an incredible game in replacement of Kyle Murray. It's going to be a tough game. When you go ahead and you look at the turnovers, you got to get that defense pulling out some balls out of tackles. They got to first tackle correctly, wrap them up, tackle them, stop them from gaining yards. You gotta keep them from getting extra yardage that they should not have got. And usually that's a result of either a missed tackle or somebody getting screwed up somewhere. But you have to be able to tackle, which this defense is very capable of tackling. You got to put pressure on the quarterback. Shaq Thompson, we're going to need you, buddy, this game. We're going to need as much pressure as we can get. Everybody else, our cornerbacks, Gilmore's going to be there. Everybody's going to be playing, guys. So defensively, I am not scared at all in this game. As long as we go ahead and put pressure on whoever the quarterback is, we will be all right. Now, meanwhile, the Panthers have to score, and they have to score often. The Cardinals are second in the NFL right now in scoring, averaging 30-point-something points a game, 30.8 points a game, which means, like I said earlier, if you plan on winning, you better plan on scoring over 30 points because it's going to take you over 30 points to win this game. Like I said, you probably need at least 30 to 35 points in this game. The other thing, our offense has to somehow get it together with PJ in there. Protect PJ. They're going to have to step it up. They're going to have to toughen it out. They're going to have to become men this weekend and put on their big boy pants and play the game of football the way offensive linemen should play football. Okay? Someone's got to get them fired up. Somebody on the field, not the guy sitting his butt up in the press box. But they got to go ahead and do better than 35% on third down efficiency. That is 26th in the NFL. Basically, there's only so many teams that are worse than them. That's just terrible at 35%. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are 7th in the NFL on third down efficiency at 44.3%. What does that mean? That means our defense has to stop them on third downs. Okay? So it's just the opposite way, folks. By us converting on third down, where does our defense stand? On the sidelines. By them converting on third down, where does our defense stand? On the field during the game. So in order to win this game, we have to win the third down efficiency battle on both sides of the football. As we move down, the Panthers have to mix up their running back. And you saw this last weekend. It was disgusting. What a crappy gameplay calling by Joe Brady. And I'm sorry if I'm picking on Joe Brady tonight, but, from one coach to another, I'm just giving you the facts here, okay? But if they know Christian McCaffrey is the only person that's getting the football, what do you think we're going to do? If you and I can figure that out, don't you think the Arizona Cardinals can figure that out? They're going to key on, whoa, Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely. That's what they're going to do. They're going to key on Christian McCaffrey. You have Chuba Hubbard. You had Amir Abdullah, who played an outstanding game 2 weeks ago. You hardly used him last week. And when you did, all you did was pass him the ball. Out of, I think, 14 or 11 or whatever few completions that Sam Darnold had last week, 9 of them were to running backs. Okay? That's an okay formula, folks, if you're mixing it up and throwing some other passes. But, it was just a crappy game altogether. But you got to mix Hubbard in there. Why McCaffrey? Go with a 2-set back, and they don't know who's running the ball. Is it McCaffrey? Is it Hubbard? They're going to plan on McCaffrey. McCaffrey shoots through, hits a block, and Hubbard goes through the hole. Or Abdullah goes through the hole. You can do so much with Christian McCaffrey besides giving him the football. The guy is a football player in all aspects of the game, and he can do so many things. Utilize him, but don't just utilize him one-dimensional where they're beating the crap out of the guy. Number 2, okay, let's see if okay, here we go. We mentioned this in the last segment, and I'm going to hit on it a little bit more, but you have to make this offense conducive to what P.J. Walker is comfortable with. You start out with some of those short, quick passes. You run the ball. You open it up so that the running game is leading you, and then the next thing you know, you're able to throw the ball deep, P.J., to maybe Robbie Anderson, because the defense is leaning forward rather than playing back to protect the pass. The big part is sustaining this running game. I didn't put that up there, but that goes without saying. You cannot only run the ball 14 times and expect to win this game. You're going to have clock management, time of possession, and utilize the running game to sustain long drives and keep your defense off the field. I said this a couple weeks ago, folks. A defense that is off the field cannot give up points to an offense because they're off the field. So you want to win the ball game, keep your defense on the sideline, sustain long drives. This offensive line has to come to play. I'm going to say it again. This offensive line needs to come to play on Sunday. Okay? If they're not ready to play, if they don't want to play, they shouldn't be on that plane going to Arizona. And somebody has to get enough shenanigans over there to pull them off. But at the end of the day, they need to sit down, evaluate themselves, look in the mirror, and realize that they have an opportunity that a lot of people in the world don't get. And that's to play in the National Football League. These guys are in there because they have potential. I don't think Matt Rule would have any of these guys on this team if he did not think that they have potential. It's time for that potential to rise to the top and be delivered on the football field this Sunday when they play the Arizona Cardinals. They have to show up. They're not just a figure of our imagination. They have to be ready to play like they never played before. They have an inexperienced quarterback that they need to protect. They need to treat him like it's one of their family members. And they need to make sure that nobody lays a hand on him. If they can be men enough to do that and rise up to the top, get motivated, get energized, get fired up, and be coached throughout that game, they have a chance. This is Larry Frank from Frankly Speaking Sports on Frankly Speaking Panthers. We'll see you next week on the same channel and the same show. Good night, folks.